Let's get right into it. Number 8. The Greenland Vikings gave up. Let's be real. When you hear Vikings, you don't think farmers in snow pants quietly starving on an iceberg. But that's basically what happened with the Norse settlements in Greenland. In the late 900s, Eric the Red, not subtle with branding, led settlers to Greenland. They built farms, churches, and basically said, "Yep, we live here now." These folks survived in a frozen wasteland using medieval tools and pure Scandinavian spite. And then, after 400 years of barely hanging on, they vanished, just stopped existing. Like they'd collectively looked around one day and said, "You know what? Nope." Historians think a combination of climate change, isolation, soil erosion, and a touch of poor trade decisions turned life in Greenland from hard to literally unbearable. Oh, and they refused to adapt Inuit survival techniques like seal hunting and fur clothing. Because why learn from the people who actually knew how to live there, right? It's like they chose extinction over switching to snow boots and seafood. Hardcore to the end. By the time Europeans sailed back to check on them in the 1400s, the settlements were ghost towns. No bodies, no big final battle, no evidence of mass disease. Just abandoned farms and a mystery colder than the weather. So yeah, one of history's most brutal cultures ghosted themselves. All because Greenland wasn't green, and being stubborn apparently runs deeper than longships. Number 7. The Olmecs. Gone before Google could find them. The Olmecs were like the original influencers of Mesoamerica. They invented writing systems, had sophisticated cities, and carved those massive stone heads that look like NFL linebackers with serious resting judgment face. You've seen them. They look like they're about to ask you why you didn't call your grandmother. But here's the wild part. We know shockingly little about them. These guys were the blueprint for later civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs. Yet by around 400 BCE, they just evaporated. No war records, no massive plague event, no "Dear Diary, we're piecing out" inscriptions carved into obsidian. What we do know is this. The Olmecs thrived in the swampy Gulf Coast of modern-day Mexico, built crazy temples, and probably created the earliest known Mesoamerican calendar and writing. Then, at the height of their powers, boom. Decline. Abandonment. Disappearance. Like a band that dropped one iconic album and never toured again. Theories? Oh, we've got theories. Volcanic eruptions, crop failure, climate shifts. Or maybe the other classic, massive internal political collapse. Apparently, ancient humans also loved a good civil war. But maybe the Olmecs left behind no Rosetta Stone, no memoirs, just some epic heads and confused archaeologists. Their cities were reclaimed by the jungle like it had a vendetta against urban planning. It's like humanity hit reset before Google Drive existed, and now we're stuck piecing together their legacy like a historical jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing and no picture on the box. Number 6. Roanoke's Vanishing Act. You know your vacation's gone wrong when your entire colony disappears, and the only clue left behind is a weird word carved into a tree. Welcome to the Roanoke Mystery, the colonial equivalent of BRB with zero follow-up. In 1587, over 100 settlers landed on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what's now North Carolina. The plan? Build a thriving English colony. The result? Historical nightmare fuel. When their governor, John White, returned from a supply trip to England 3 years later, the colony was empty. No people, no bodies, no signs of struggle. Just the word Croatoan carved into a post and CRO etched into a tree. It's like if you left your Airbnb for groceries and came back to find everything gone except a single cryptic post-it note. To this day, no one knows for sure what happened. Did they join the local Native American tribes? Starve? Die in a storm? Get abducted by aliens? Okay, probably not the last one, but honestly at this point, it's not off the table. What makes it even weirder is that this was the first attempt at a permanent English settlement in the New World. And it ended in a ghost story so baffling that even archaeologists are like, we're still working on it. Roanoke is history's ultimate, sorry I missed you note. But written in mystery, paranoia, and the deep, unsettling feeling that maybe humans were never supposed to settle that far, that fast. Number 5. The Mayan Mystery Shutdown. The Maya were peak overachievers. They had advanced math, shockingly accurate astronomy, and built massive stone cities without wheels or metal tools. Basically, they were crushing the ancient world's version of STEM. Then, somewhere between the 8th and 9th centuries, they just stopped. The great stone cities of the southern lowlands were abandoned like a group chat no one wanted to admit was dead. So what happened? That's the million stone temple question. Historians have theories, of course. Droughts so bad they made your average cactus weep. Overpopulation outpacing the food supply. Political chaos that made Game of Thrones look like a workplace sitcom. Probably all of the above. Here's the kicker. The Maya didn't completely vanish. Their descendants still live in Central America today. But the grand cities, the massive ceremonial centers, those got left to the jungle like, we'll be right back, and then never came back. Imagine if New York City were suddenly abandoned, and in 1,000 years, someone stumbled upon the Empire State Building, wrapped in vines with no explanation. That's what we're talking about here. Basically, it was the ancient version of rage-quitting civilization. And they did it so thoroughly that their biggest temples were hidden under moss for centuries. That's commitment. So the next time you ghost someone, just remember, the Maya did it first. But, on an entire city level. Number 4. The disappearing city of Ubar. Some legends die quietly. Others get buried in literal sand dunes for centuries and then casually resurface like, hey, remember me? I was a whole civilization. Enter Ubar, also known as Iram of the Pillars, a city so grand it was mentioned in the Quran as a fabulously rich hub of trade, power, and probably a whole lot of camel drama. Then, poof, gone. Like Atlantis, with less water and more sand. For ages, people thought Ubar was just a myth cooked up by overexcited poets. But in the 1990s, some archaeologists using NASA satellite images, because why not flex on ancient ruins with space tech, found what looked like old caravan routes converging on a buried location in Oman. What they dug up matched the descriptions: massive stone structures, collapsed towers, and signs that the city may have literally fallen into the ground due to a giant limestone sinkhole. That's right, the city may have just dropped into the earth like a bad plot twist. One minute you're the capital of a wealthy incense empire, the next you're a cautionary tale about building your city on Swiss cheese rock. It's the ancient version of the floor is lava, except the floor is just gone. What wiped them out? Climate change, water scarcity, possible divine punishment. Take your pick. But what we're left with is this: an entire city swallowed by time, sand, and maybe its own hubris. If you ever feel like you're having a rough day, remember, at least your hometown didn't vanish into a hole because nobody checked the bedrock. Number 3. Lake Natron, the statue factory. Picture a lake so caustic it turns animals into stone. Not metaphorically. Literally calcified like something out of a Medusa-themed acid trip. That's Lake Natron in Tanzania, and it looks like Mars got bored and started playing Sims with lava textures. The water here can reach a pH of 10.5. That's more alkaline than household bleach. Temperatures hover near boiling. And if that wasn't enough, the high levels of salt and minerals preserve dead animals in a way that makes them look eerily lifelike, like real-life taxidermy courtesy of volcanic runoff. Birds crash into the lake, die, and come out looking like cursed lawn ornaments. National Geographic once published photos of these poor petrified pigeons, and they honestly looked like props from a Tim Burton set. What's wild is that some species, like certain flamingos, do survive here. Because apparently, flamingos are just built different. But for most creatures, including humans, touching this water is like being dunked in angry dish soap with abandonment issues. So yeah, gravity works. Water still flows. But survival? It's on pause while the lake tries to mummify you for its rock garden. Number 2. Snake Island. Because nature hates you. If you've ever thought, what if I could be surrounded by thousands of venomous snakes all the time, everywhere, even in trees? Then great news. Ilha da Queimada Grande in Brazil is your dream hellscape. Also known as Snake Island, this charming slice of ocean-adjacent nightmare is home to the critically endangered and critically terrifying golden lancehead viper. Their venom can melt flesh. You heard that right. Melt flesh. It's like Mother Nature said, let's combine beach views with instant death. There are estimates that 1 to 5 snakes live per square meter here. That's not a typo. You could lie down and be spooned by 3 snakes before you even hit REM sleep. The Brazilian government has wisely banned all human visitation unless you're a researcher with a special permit, and presumably a death wish. Even the local lighthouse? Completely automated. Because no one wants to be the guy who dies because he dropped a flashlight next to a nest of fanged noodles. Here, survival rules do a complete 180. Running equals bad, breathing too loud equals risky, and everything that looks like a vine might actually want to liquefy your organs. In short, it's paradise for herpetologists. For the rest of us, it's just one giant nope with a coastline. Number 1. The Zone of Death, USA Edition. Imagine a place where you could technically get away with murder. And not because you're clever, but because of a constitutional loophole. Welcome to the Zone of Death, which is not a horror movie title but a real legal black hole in the United States. It's tucked away in a remote part of Yellowstone National Park, specifically the 50-square-mile section that falls within Idaho. And here's where it gets weird. Yellowstone is federally managed, but that particular slice is part of Idaho. And Idaho doesn't have enough residents in that zone to seat a proper jury. Yes, seriously. No jury equals no trial equals, you see where this is going? In 2005, a law professor named Brian Kalt pointed out that, legally speaking, someone could commit a crime there and potentially walk free due to the Sixth Amendment's jury requirement. Congress has, of course, done nothing about it, because why close a loophole that only a few thousand true crime YouTubers know about? Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean it's a free-for-all murder arena. You'll probably still get arrested, but the fact that you could even theoretically outsmart the legal system with a tent and some bad intentions is enough to make your sense of order short-circuit. Basically, it's the only place in America where your survival might depend less on food or shelter, and more on knowing obscure legal trivia. Justice? Optional. Bears? Still very much real. That all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.